Hi, and welcome to the Pediatric Emergency Medicine Application Introduction video. I'm Marin. My teammate was Gregory Plazas. The product owner for this project was Dr. Jean Hannon, and the professor for this semester was Masood Sajjadi. So the problem definition. In this case, the issue is that medical staff should have a place where they could get quick and easy access to information that's vital during a pediatric emergency, and they should also, within the same application, have a spot to share that information with their colleagues. Also, for convenience on the medical staff, they could have an area where they could keep track of their continuing medical education as well. So my part is that I designed and implemented the account creation, chat room, and certification tracking parts of the application. And my teammate designed the search bar, the category tiles, and how they all navigate between each other. So here's the project management. You can see on the top there are dates, and on the bottom you can see markers for the beginnings of sprints. So you can see how long things took sprint-wise, and all our user stories on the left-hand side. So user stories. In my case, I worked on all these user stories. The most crucial ones were 2, to have a login page so that we could log in and sign up to the chat room in CME. 4, to get messages to send and receive in the chat room. 5 was to have the messages appear in real time when the user sends them, because otherwise you don't want to end up with a situation where, for example, you send a message and then you have to get out of the chat room and back in, so it pulls the latest messages, or you have to tap a refresh button to make sure that it got the latest messages. That should appear as you send, and you shouldn't have to do anything to see a new message appear from someone else. It should just pop up on the screen. So user story 7, this was a specific feature that the product owner asked us for, which is when all the users sign out, all the messages from the chat room should be deleted. So if 3 users sign into the chat room, share information, once all 3 sign out, the chat room is emptied, and if anyone else signs in again, it's a clean slate. Story 9 was to find the best way to store all the content the application will have. So basically, how would we store the subcategory content and the more dynamic content, such as messages and CMEs being sent and created by the user. Story 12 was create an area where the user could keep track of their continuing medical education. And 13 was another feature that the product owner asked us for the chat room, which is a button that you could press so you could see who is currently online, and you can know who can actually read your messages. So my teammate worked on these user stories, and of those, the most crucial ones were number 1, which is to actually create the navigation. 3 was to create the search area so the user can actually search across the app. 6 was to get the categories to have accessible content in them so that we could ensure that they're pulling the data from the database and all that correctly. And 11 was to give a clean and uniform style to the entire application. So here are the use case diagrams. On the left is my use case diagram, which covers the account creation, signing in, chat room, and CME. On the right is my teammate's contribution, which covers the categories, the subcategories, the search, and how they all work together. Here's the use case diagram for the whole project. I color-coded my contribution and my teammate's contribution. So on the top, you see my teammate's contribution, and on the bottom, you can see mine. So here's the sequence diagram for my part. which again covers all the signing in, logging in, sending messages, chat room, etc. And here's the sequence diagram for my teammates part. System design. In this case, the application architecture isn't very complicated. We just use React Native for the front end and React Navigation as well. And on the back end, just Firebase and Google Cloud for all the storage and user authentication. Data design. So for persistent data, which is the data that's going to be mainly read and hardly ever written, so that's mainly the data for the subcategories. We knew that Cloud Firestore would be our best bet. And for dynamic data, which is things like, the chat room, when messages get sent and received, that deletes every time the users all sign out, so that could be quite often. The CMEs the users creates, and all that. We knew that the Firebase real-time database would be our best option in that case. Security and privacy. Firebase authentication is inherently secure, so we knew this was going to be a good idea to use this, right? As it would take care of some details on its own, like passing usernames and passwords securely to Firebase when they log in, authenticating them, etc. So here's the minimal class diagram. This doesn't show all the files in our project. This just shows how all the screens that the user will be viewing interact with each other. And in the center, you can see what interacts with Firebase as well. So here's an algorithm. I wouldn't say there's a main algorithm for this application, but this is one of the most important ones, which is how we actually search across the app and display results for the user when they use the search bar. So in this case, we make our list, we go through the subcategories list, and for each subcategory, which is an object that has a title in it, we check if the title contains what the user input. And if it does, we append it to the results list. If not, we don't. And then we just display the list. A quick note is that if the user inputs nothing, then the if statement asking if it contains the user input will always return true. So you could just press search without inputting anything as a way of saying, give me all the categories you have, or all the subcategories you have. So here we have the user account creation test, sunny day. So here we're assuming that Firebase is running properly and everything's working fine, and the user inputs everything correctly. And in this case, the expected result is that the user will see a dialog box saying, congrats, your account has been created, and they will get navigated to the login screen so they can log in with their new credentials. And the actual results are exactly those, so this is a pass. Here we have user account creation rainy day, so it's the same thing, except we're assuming that Firebase is not running properly, and in this case, the user is unable to create their account. The actual results are those, the user cannot create an account, so the status is a pass. Here we have user account login test, sunny day. So again, we're assuming Firebase is running properly, and the user inputs everything correctly. So in this case, the expected results are that the user is navigated to the subcategory screen with the chat room and CME subcategories displayed. The actual results are those, so the status for this is a pass. And now we have the user account login rainy day test. So again, we're assuming the user inputs everything correctly, but Firebase is not running properly. So the expected results and the actual results are that the user is unable to log into their account. So this is a pass as well. In summary, the Pediatric Emergency application will be available for both Android and iOS, and because of that, almost anybody has complete access to the app. you could go. The information is completely public, and if you want to have access to the chat room and all that, you just have to make an account, and that's it. I'm Andre Marin. There's my email. My teammate, again, with Gregory Plazas, and there's his email. If you have any questions or comments, let us know, feel free. And thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this presentation.